Well, moving on to hacking news, the same group behind the massive government breach reportedly also hacked United Airlines around the same time. Many are saying it is tied to China. Shawn Henry is with me now. He is the former executive agent director of the FBI. He is president of cybersecurity services provider CrowdStrike. Shawn, thanks for joining us. This group reportedly stole information such as flight manifests. Why is that of value, especially even if it is a group in China?
Well, in this case, United's come out and said that they've actually not lost any customer information. But what we're looking at when we look at the Chinese, you look at the OPM breach that we saw recently, which is essentially the Human Resources Department of the entire U.S. government, where there were tens of millions of records that were stolen, highly valuable to a foreign intelligence service. And we see hundreds of companies that are being targeted. I'm very familiar with many companies that have lost some valuable information, research and development, corporate strategies. China and other governments, but in this particular case, are sucking up this data so that they can become more competitively advantaged in the global marketplace from a business perspective. But also in this case, when we talk about OPM and others, you're looking at the collection of valuable intelligence that allows them to get an overview of the U.S. population and, in particular, U.S. government officials, how they move, where they work, et cetera.
Shawn, for people who don't know as well as you do, is essentially the government's HR department.
Yeah, that OPM is collecting information. It's got very valuable information on security clearances. People, when they apply to the government, they've got to provide very sensitive information, all their contacts, relatives, former employment, health information, and information, quite honestly, that is concerning to them, could be embarrassing, that they have to provide in advance of getting a job during the security clearance. So for a foreign government to have that information, potentially targeting government officials, it's a treasure trove of information. It really is a coup for the Chinese.
Okay, so that is a big coup. That is to say, having that information, and to your point, extrapolating on what you said, could be used for bribery, for other reasons, trade secrets. But getting back to the commercial side, I heard what you're saying about taking a flight manifest. That's not particularly sensitive, but it does show the vulnerability in the sense of, could an airplane be brought down, right? That's the next step in all of our thoughts if somebody wanted to do it via computer.
Sure. So we saw not too long ago, a few weeks ago, there was some concern where there was an outage at United. That was a technical glitch. I've spoken to people who were in the know in the government. That was clearly technical. The breach of data, the theft of data, is very, very different from somebody being able to actually interfere with some type of a flight. That's not been proven. There have been lots of folks from many different organizations involved in the aviation industry who have said that the type of concern that some people have raised is not actually possible. But when you're talking about computer networks that are administrative, very, very separate from the operational networks that are involved in airplanes. So they're completely separate, completely different. When the adversaries are looking for valuable information as it relates to corporate strategies, et cetera, they're looking at those corporate networks.
Shawn, as we highlighted, CrowdStrike is a cyber security services provider. Which industry are you most worried about? Which ones do you see among your clients that you say, okay, this is the weakest, I really have to focus on helping this group?
You know, it's the adversaries are targeting across every single sector, every single vertical, because there's valuable information in all of those organizations. I think if we're concerned about where the greatest impact might lie, I think probably energy is a concern. People have talked for a long time about the infrastructure as it relates to electric power, for example. And if an adversary was able to access those networks and to disrupt them, what would be the cascading impact across all the economy if we lost power for days or weeks? That is absolutely a concern. But think about that critical infrastructure that runs our stock markets, communications, our manufacturing, our financial services sector. All of them are critical to the functionality of this country. All of them have some vulnerabilities. Adversaries are constantly targeting them. companies need to be better at detecting these attacks because they can mitigate them, because a failure in any of those industries is going to have wide-ranging impact.
Yep, they're all significant. Shawn Henry, thank you so much for the time. We're glad you're with us. Former Executive Assistant Director of the FBI and President of CrowdStrike.